All right, we're going to welcome you back to the Principals Podcast. And this is more of a one-on-one interview opportunity. And it's perfect because we're with Charlotte Jons. And many of you who have watched our podcast before have seen her grow throughout the last several years, um, pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, doing speech and debate as the sole representative for Chardon High School. She is the ambassador of our building, and she goes and does all these competitions. And it's really extraordinary that we have on our show today. So, Charlotte, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm pretty good.
Can you tell us all your last competition that happened last weekend and how it went and what opportunities you have from it?
Yeah, so the last competition, let me think where we were. Oh my gosh, I can't even think. It was the national qualifier. It was downtown in Cleveland. And that's a really big one in the district because they get everyone and all the events in both speech and debate. And everyone is trying to qualify for the national spots where they send you up to Phoenix, Arizona. And I mean, I don't know if you've been following the story, you already know I qualified, but
That is amazing, and I'm looking at you. You are featured in the News Herald with your work, and Miss Kelly Mish, our communications director, does a great job articulating all the things you do. Your
mm-hmm.
mom is an awesome mother first, and then coach second with everything that you do. Um, Tell us more about the oral interpretation event that you are in.
Yeah,
'Cause
so my event is in the speech category of things. It's called Program Oral Interpretation, and the main idea of it is it's almost like proving a thesis or like a concept through using both prose and poetry. And so I've taken like pre-written. I use song lyrics and I use stand-up comedy and I use speeches that have been given, and I prove the point in my personal speech about dark humor in our society. And also I'm talking about sad clown paradox, which is the idea of a comedian who like smiles and puts on a happy face even when things might be a little bit more challenging.
you are very gifted um, academically, very eloquent with your words, very good on the stage. Where did this all begin? Because your brother
um
also was on the stage too.
yes, yeah, everyone in my family has been pretty artsy, I have to say. My two older stepsisters are both very artsy as well, and then Theo has been very musical as well. I started doing theater when I was pretty young, and obviously I'm still in that now. And then somewhere along the way, I joined band, and then choir, and now I'm in speech, and I'm in like every extracurricular.
So I do have a real question for you regarding this because in my role as a principal, I have to be very well versed in so many parts of our building and programs and curriculum. Um, but I'm very strong in understanding the system, but then articulating it without preparation. The preparation goes into building the program, and then you just reiterate it out loud without looking at notes um, or memorizing. But how is it for you? Are you a little bit of both where you put a script together um, and there's a part of it of reading, rehearsing, memorizing, but there has to be that I've been there, done that, ad-libbing because of your experience. So how does that work with you live when you're doing these things? Is it
Yeah.
part memory and then part ad-libbing?
Well, I obviously work to put the script together, and things are very choreographed, and the gestures and the motions I will do, and how I'll say certain things. But a lot of it is playing to like whoever's in the room. Like if I have a specific judge who I can see is like really like
Nodding their head and getting
right,
into it.
right, exactly. You could play to them a little bit more, or other competitors in the room. Working with people who are in there is a big part of just like you just got to do it.
So are you participating in the Adams family?
I am.
What role are you going to be in?
I am playing the grandmama.
Oh, perfect. So now it goes into right in your wheelhouse where you can act as someone,
Yeah.
but you also have to stay on point with the script while all the while using your personality. I watched your brother when he was last in the fall play, and he had probably 6,000 lines. Like, how do you memorize this? You watch a movie and you're like, they record like a script for probably a scene, so you have to memorize that scene. But a spring musical or a fall play is constantly evolving. I've seen you all back behind stage, reading your scripts as you're about to go on as rehearsing. But how do you use that skill to memorize all of you like that are on musical theater?
I can't say how I do it. I think it's a lot of it is experience. I've just been doing it for so long, but memorizing things has always come really, really naturally to me.
That's amazing. Do you see yourself as you transition through your grades here? Eventually, there's going to be a commencement. Uh, where do you find yourself using your gifts and talents post high school?
Beyond high school, I'm really interested in pursuing a career in some kind of communications, which is very similar to speech and debate. Something like writing for like television or film. I think I really do adore film as well, but the idea of communications doing something live on air, I think sounds very exciting.
That is outstanding. And so this next part of my conversation is you and I have had it. We've had it with Dr. Hanlon also, and a few of your friends, is the evolution of artificial intelligence and how it will continue to evolve, not only art, but literature and or people writing things or finding ways to do things more efficiently. Um, have you, in your early investigation, you saw that some of your, I guess, competitors were using this chat GPT and or using artificial intelligence to at least stage some of their initial thoughts. Are you still seeing that in your wheelhouse
Yeah,
over in?
yeah, sorry, the Wi-Fi is terrible. I was having conversations with some of my competitors earlier this year, and there was one girl in particular who was talking about how she would put in her thesis statement and then see what she could get as an introduction for her piece. I don't know if she ever ended up using it. I do think it's a bit choppy when you use things like that. I think there's some voice that's lost, but I do think it's an exciting concept.
It is, and it has to be obviously fenced in accordingly and appropriately. Um, there's a school district in the news for using it inappropriately. Um, More recently, they had a significant issue at their school, and they put in their data into Chat GPT, and it came up with the narrative of the event in their building, and they used it, and they copied it all the way down that says created by Chat GPT on this date and this time. Like they sent it out to a public stakeholder communication, and like that's inappropriate,
Right.
especially for certain things. So not to get into this huge evolution talking about that, because you're a curator of your own information. You're one of the originals where you come up with original thoughts, collaborate and innovate through topics and using personality, which I love, along the same as your teachers do. Um, who are some people that have influenced you in in this? Let's talk about speech and debate specifically. Who's influenced you the most with speech and debate?
Um, a big one, not to get into a sob story. One of our Hall of Fame recognized coaches, Fred Snook, he was the Kenston coach for a while. I'd known him since I started, and he passed away over the summer. And he had a really big, I don't know, really mantra, but like he had a big mindset about keeping a happy face. And so my speech this year, I do dedicate it to him when I give my intro because he was so influential to me.
That's extremely powerful. And there's other people in your life, and including teachers, that play a significant role. Obviously, every one of the educators that come into your life kind of leave a mark towards helping you evolve as a person, including those in your own household. Are there any specific people you want to give shout outs to this week?
My personal circle, my friends and family, and all my teachers at Chardon who are encouraging me.
So, talk to us one last time that you are representing Chardon High School now on the national stage. What is that going to be like?
It's a little intimidating. I gotta say, I'm the only Chardon student who will be heading to states in the first week of March and then nationals over the summer in Phoenix. So a little scary, but also I've put in a lot of work for this, so very exciting.
You have put in so much work. Oh my gosh, Mr. Hyman has joined us.
Hi, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. My apologies. I had this circled. I had the national tournament information pulled up on my screen. I was ready. And then all of a sudden, my mind went a different direction. I went to a classroom. And as you know, Charlotte, great things happen in our classrooms. And I just couldn't get out of the classroom. So I apologize to the viewers. But I'm sure you were in great hands with Mr. Murray, weren't you?
Just like yesterday, where you took over the podcast and it helped me out. We covered a lot of things. But Mr. Hyam, if you're still around, I'm very interested in some of the research that you came up with, because you might have some specific questions I did not ask regarding the national competition.
Well, I want to make sure I'm talking about the right one. We're talking about going to Arizona in June. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Murray knows this, and I have no problem saying linguistics is not my strength. But I am willing to go if your mom and dad aren't able. I'm sure Mr. Murray would be willing. I can handle logistics. Mr. Murray can handle linguistics. I think we can work something out and support you there in Arizona. I'm just offering. I'm sure that you have not gotten any offers like that yet, correct?
No, I haven't. That's super sweet.
Okay. So what I looked at, I mean, are you going to be one of like thousands of students across the country coming to this, or did I read that incorrectly?
I think every individual district chooses. It depends how many kids are in your event, but the Cleveland district chose 2. And so I won first place of those 2. So then they took me as the first seed. So I'm not sure if it's going to be 1,000, but it will be a lot.
So you talk about seeding. Is there an actual formula or a process when you get to these events, or is it just a random draw for say? How does that kind of work out?
At the competitions, there's multiple rounds. And then they will give you either first place or the last place in the round. And normally there's about 5 people in every round. And this last weekend, through all my judging, I scored first place. That was my majority rank. So then I was the tournament champion. And then when they were picking the first 2 who would represent Cleveland at the national level, based on my ranks, I was chosen.
Sure. So, and I'm sure you never use this skill at home in the family setting at the dinner table, have you? Have you ever brought out those debate skills at the family dinner table?
I think my parents would be very afraid if I did. I think that would be too much.
Oh, come on. Your parents could hold their own, don't you think?
Probably, I'm sure, but
that is a lot of IQ sitting around that table.
Yeah.
Well, I know what I would do. I'd bring a paper and pencil to the table and just try to take as many notes as I can. Maybe do some mathematical problems that your mom would say, okay, I got that from the science world. But I would try to, bring something to the table. Then Mr. Murray would bring his, Hebrew and some of the other things that he can bring to the table that just, puts me in awe. So, you know, you're a very confident young lady. I watch you perform. You come with passion. Is that, how important is that in the competition? Coming with the passion and the confidence. Is that as important as the content, or is the content still trump that?
I mean, obviously you have to be prepared in what you're bringing, like content wise, but I really do think confidence is like most of the game. I'm sure that's the same in like any activity you will do that is a competition. Even if you don't feel like 100% with what you've done, you need to present yourself as someone who's put together. So sometimes it's really just a fake it till you make it situation, but that confidence really does, I think, come off as like the number one skill that I am using at every tournament.
I'm glad you say that, because I tell Mr. Murray, I'm just going to get up there and fake it until they believe me. Sometimes it takes hours, but I try. Is there something you could provide the audience, and I'll say just me specifically, you know, a few things you've learned through the years that could help individuals when they are presenting in front of large groups or small groups?
Yeah, that's a really hard one to answer. I guess people always talk about how they have this big fear of public speaking, and I do think it's scary, but I think the more that you try to remove the situation from like being afraid of it, if you move it towards something that's more of an opportunity and you just think about like this is something exciting that you get to do, presenting toward people, I think then that could turn into more of a positive like thing that you get to do rather than something that you can be dreading. Like school presentations and things have always come naturally to me, and part of that is the experience, but I do think just trying to see it as something more positive rather than something scary to be afraid of, I think that could be beneficial.
So one last question. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Murray. Mr. Murray talks about it often, and I fully agree with him. One of the things that I'm most proud about that we have done together collaboratively is the Circuit of Success. And you've worked through that process as a student here at the high school. How important do you think Circuit of Success has been in some of the growth that you've had as a student here at the high school, and how have you applied that maybe into some of your competitions?
Yeah, Circuit of Success is something obviously every single eighth grader we send through that program. The Circuit of Leadership, that one was very, very fun for me, I thought. Yeah, I don't know. It was just, it's cool that you get to have a little quarter of every like individual, almost core principle, almost like our core values that we think are important beyond high school. So yeah, I definitely do use those things that they talked about.
We are so grateful for all the things that you do. You have a wonderful talent, a talent that Mr. Hyman and I are still longing to achieve, with that ability for just, I mean, we can all three of us be articulate with words, but it's that energy that you put into it, and also the poetry necessary, and the face that you have to put on to show that emotion while you're trying to connect it to the theme in which you're presenting.
Mm-hmm.
If I tell Mr. Hyam to tell me about the math program of study, he's going to be like, boom, 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 boom. And it's going to be very, very informational, but you have to make it informational. You have to make it inspirational. And also you have to also be on point with your facts. Your facts have to be on point, because you might be articulating something that is well-known or not well-known. And it's not a fake it till you make it. You have to really prove that you know what you're doing. So the last question I had, because we did give some shout outs, is do you have to have will you learn something new when you go in June of a theme topic, articulation of poetry, or are you able to reuse something you've already done?
I will be reusing the same general speech topic and everything that I've been doing, but I mean, in this event, I can never really have a completed piece. I am a constant believer of pushing myself toward greater success. And I think that I can never like stop and say it's good enough. I think everything is able to be improved. So I'm sure I can tweak things more before I head up to Phoenix this summer.
That's outstanding. You know, this podcast born out of the pandemic. I said earlier that it's like early, it started like a Jimmy Kimmel kind of interview. But you are, when you have a show and you have guests that come back multiple times, you know, this might be maybe 3 as an individual, but 2 or 3 as an individual, but you've been in groups.
Yeah.
So you are ranking up there in podcasts with the 120 something we've done. You've been in like 4. So you might actually graduate holding the most records. And I'm sure we are going to see you again on this time next year. And we'll probably open August with you because you're going to be having a nice little ring to show us, some national ring for your awards. Thank you for being you. I want to thank your mom for all that she does to support not only the students that she serves, but also auxiliary serving our students through being our coach. She's a wonderful, we miss your brother and his personality. So best of luck as you continue to work. I know that you're working on so many other things in the interim, including the Addams family. So again, thank you for being you. Thank you for really representing what it means to be a Hilltopper. Any final well wishes to anyone, Mr. Hyman?
Not at this time. I really do appreciate the time we're spending with the 7th graders and the 7th grade parents. We've met with them the last few days. So we have a new group excited to come up here, and Charlotte, you'll be able to lead them. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I am very grateful for the Board of Education approving our program of study last night at the board meeting, asking great questions, really supportive, so we can actually continue doing what we said we were out to do. So, Charlotte, best of luck. We'll see you in the building throughout the day. Good luck with all you do, including those in the current and in the future. And everybody, go Toppers.
Go Toppers.